Hey, Jules Blessed Vegan, and as always, welcome to my channel. And for those of you who are new, I know you can benefit. So I'm totally rejoicing to no end that today's my baptismal day. When I was just 14 days old, my parents had me baptized in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, and it has been an amazing walk. And I'm just so grateful for them that in their faith, they dared to, offer me. And I'm like a little God person. And even though Christians are by no means spared, we are blessed to have the guidance of the Holy Spirit. And I'm stoked for that. The other thing is, like 20 something years ago, I met up with my husband on my baptismal day after losing him for a few years and looking for him in the morgue. You might remember that story. And it was actually on my baptismal day that we met up, and it was a renewal of life. So it just made sense, right? Anyway, though, the topic is temperance, and I'm so interested in temperance. I was reading it in reference to something, and then when I looked it up, it turned out that like every saint that's ever lived absolutely practiced temperance. And to be fair, most of the planet, certainly Christians, were called to live in temperance from like the pre-1950s, let's just say. I mean, some people have always had excess, no doubt, but when you think about it, we had World War I, which was such a difficult time of desperation, and then, of course, the Depression, so nobody was in excess, not really, except for alcohol, and when you look at temperance, most of the references will be to excess of alcohol. But it did reference food, and the food aspect is what interested me most because it is about gluttony. And then, so after, of course, the Depression, we had World War II, again, a very difficult time. And then there was sort of this birth of our nation, if you will, in the 1950s that was all, so much fun and poodle skirts and all of that. And the beginning of fast food in a way, because people were able to buy TV dinners, put them in the oven. Of course, they didn't have microwaves yet, but it was followed by microwaves and all the other things that kind of led to the very immediate gratification of the standard American diet, which has just become our nightmare. But prior to the 1950s, I would say people did practice temperance. And for me, choosing balance means going back to temperance. So I'm informing myself about that, and I hope you'll find interest in it. So the first thing for the Christian church is that temperance is a virtue that moderates attraction and desire for pleasure and provides balance, ding, 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 there's my word, in the use of created goods. I find that so interesting because by created goods, and the fact that it says goods speaks to me of consumerism. So I'm thinking creative goods is what humans made. Because can you really be in excess on fruit and vegetables? Not so much. How about water, fire, wind? Not so much. But created goods, especially those today that are literally designer toxic foods to make you addicted, absolutely. So it says that provide balance in the use of created goods, and that St. Thomas calls it a disposition of the mind which binds the passions. So all that compulsive nature and in excess and want, and gimme, it actually is a disposition, so your way of living, that binds the passions. Temperance is believed to combat the sin of gluttony. I love that. This is a discipline that I'm going to be looking more into because, again, I wasn't familiar, but I have certainly heard of it and I want to explore it further because it is one of the 7 virtues in the Bible. So the definition of temperance is moderation in action, thought, or feeling. So you can't stay in that obsessive state because you actually have to practice moderation. How do you turn the monkey mind off? The second part is restraint. Habitual, so practiced moderation, and the indulgence of the appetites or passions. So it has to be a conscious desire to practice moderation. And then finally, moderation and abstinence from the use of alcoholic beverages. And again, I'm not surprised by this. Alcohol was readily available in the early days, and food not so much. So alcohol was abused over food. I'm certain of that. So then it says that temperance is the second of the 7 virtues. There's chastity, temperance, charity, diligence, patience, kindness, and humility. So temperance. And it says, how do you practice the virtue of temperance? And this is a whole nother thing, but it says, here are some helpful tips in showing the manly virtue, the manly, meaning all humankind. Don't ever freak out when someone just says man. You're not confused that as a woman, not only is the population of women larger than men, but men wouldn't exist without us giving birth, right? Okay, so 1, analyze your life and be specific. This reminds me of the 12-step program when they literally have you take a fearless and moral inventory of your life, which is step 4. Number 2, analyze the area where you lack self-control. Right now, there's a couple of ways, because I told you I haven't been very disciplined with balance, but food is most certainly my focus. Set goals that can be easily accomplished. You don't want to hang out in repeated failure mode. Actually make some goals that you can achieve and rejoice and build from those, right? Stay accountable. Are you even being honest? It's so easy to be affirmed by someone that you've completely lied to and have a limited understanding of who you are or why you're struggling. I know that nightmare. Number 5, review your progress regularly with others. Find a confidant that you can tell your truth to. I mean, in my church, of course, it's a priest that I can go to for confession, but do you have a best friend? You know, it might be somebody you don't even know. The entire 12-step program is anonymous. I was thinking about my very first sponsor. His name was Thomas, but I never knew his last name. And he went off and got married, and I've always prayed for him. But he was so phenomenal in my walk, and I never even knew his name. And a lot of people at best might know me as JulesBlessedVegan. I think it says my name. But, you know, sometimes you don't even know a person. There's this beautiful woman and her husband that I met at church, and we connected immediately, which I just attributed to the Holy Spirit. I never knew her last name, and she's gone. And I just had to be affirmed by God that that was for a fleeting moment. And I was called to just rejoice in that relationship. All right, so stay accountable. Review your progress with someone you actually trust and will be honest with. If you can't do that, write it honestly in a journal and burn it later if you need to. Number 6, deny yourself. You've got to parent yourself. Deny yourself every darn whim. And don't remove your desire from your life. Don't lock yourself in a closet and say, I can't ever go out again because I'm trying to be temperate. So no, God expects us to live, and not just live, but to totally serve, right? So let me see what this says. Manly virtues of temperance, 10 steps to self-control and self-discipline. You know what? That's going to be part 2, because in my desire to be balanced, it's already after 11 o'clock. It's coming, people. You're going to watch that miracle. But again, I just wanted to rejoice in my baptism, introduce the concept of temperance, and know that part 2 is tomorrow. And until we talk again, like if you like, join us if you haven't, subscribe. Know that I ate cleanly today and was full of grace. And best of all, know that you're blessed.